Imagine this. You decide one day to live on half your paycheck, just for 6 months. The other half you save or invest or put somewhere safe. At first it sounds impossible, maybe even a little crazy. But what if I told you that this one decision, this single uncomfortable choice, changes more than just your bank account? What if it changes the way you think, the way you see money, the way you live your whole life? Today I want to walk you through exactly what happens, what the first week feels like, what month 3 feels like, and what you discover about yourself by month 6 that you never would have found any other way. This story is not just about saving money. It is about what happens to a person when they stop letting money run their life and start running it themselves. It usually starts with a feeling. Maybe you looked at your bank account and felt sick. Maybe you realized you earn decent money but have almost nothing to show for it. Maybe someone you knew paid cash for something you could not afford, and something clicked. So you make a decision. Half goes in, half gets saved. You write it down. You feel excited for about 20 minutes. Then you open your phone and see a sale notification from your favorite store, and the first test begins. The first thing you learn is this: half your salary sounds like a lot to live on, until you actually try. Then you realize how many invisible expenses were hiding in your normal life. The subscriptions you forgot about, the takeout orders twice a week, the coffee every morning, the impulsive online purchases that felt small but added up to something enormous every month. Week 1 is where most people nearly quit. Because week 1 is where you have to actually look at all of it. Every subscription, every recurring charge, every habit that costs money. And when you lay it all out, the number is almost always a shock. Most people discover they have no idea where their money was going. You sit down with your bank statements from the last 3 months. You go through every single transaction, and you start to see patterns that you had been too comfortable to notice before. The nights out that added up to hundreds. The Amazon purchases that each felt reasonable but together looked like a lifestyle you did not consciously choose. And this moment is actually the most valuable thing that happens in the entire 6 months, because you cannot change what you cannot see. And most people spend their whole financial lives never truly seeing. The half-salary challenge forces you to see right away with no room to hide. Month 1 is about learning a word most of us are very bad at saying: no. No to the new thing your friend just bought that you suddenly want too. Saying no feels awful at first. It feels like missing out, like being left behind. But something happens around week 3. You start to notice that most of the things you said no to do not actually matter as much as you thought they would. The dinner happened without you and you survived. The weekend trip looked fun on Instagram and then it was over. The new thing your friend bought is already just a thing they own and never mention anymore. And slowly, quietly, you start to understand something that sounds simple but goes very deep. Most of what we spend money on is not about the thing itself. It is about not feeling left out. It is about keeping up. It is about what the purchase says about us. When you strip that away and ask, do I actually want this? The answer is often no. And that answer saves you more money than any budget tip ever could. Something unexpected happens in month 2. You get creative because you have to. When you cannot spend your way to comfort, you start finding other ways. You cook meals you had never tried before. You discover free things in your city you had always walked past. You call people instead of meeting them in expensive places. And here is the part that surprises most people. A lot of those free or cheap things are actually better. The home-cooked meal with music playing is more relaxing than the restaurant where you spent $80 and felt rushed. The walk in the park costs nothing and clears your head better than the shopping trip that was supposed to make you feel better but never quite did. You also start to notice what genuinely makes you happy versus what you had been told was supposed to make you happy. Those are often very different lists. And the gap between those two lists is exactly where most people's money disappears. Month 2 is where you start closing that gap. Not perfectly, but noticeably, and it feels genuinely good in a way that spending never quite did. By month 3, something concrete has happened. You have money in a savings account that was not there before, and the number in that account, even if it is not huge yet, does something to your mind that is hard to explain until you experience it. It makes you feel safe, quietly, a kind of calm you had not realized you were missing. Financial stress is one of the most draining things a person can carry, and most people carry it constantly without even naming it. They wake up at 3 in the morning thinking about a bill. They feel a flash of anxiety every time they tap their card. They avoid looking at their bank account because looking feels worse than not knowing. That anxiety is expensive in ways that go far beyond money. It costs you sleep, it costs you focus, it costs you peace. By month 3, that background noise starts to quiet down, not because your life is perfect, but because you have a cushion now. A small one, but a real one. And the feeling of having even a small cushion changes how you walk through every single day. You make better decisions, you feel less desperate. You stop making purchases just to feel something good for 10 minutes. The cushion is doing more work than just sitting in an account. By month 4, something deeper is happening. Your identity is changing. You are starting to see yourself as someone who manages money intentionally, someone who makes choices rather than just reacting. And that shift from passenger to driver affects more than your finances. It affects how you carry yourself, how you make decisions at work, how you think about the future. You also start to notice your relationship with things changing. You stop wanting as much. Not because you are depriving yourself, but because you have spent 4 months proving to yourself that most things do not add as much to your life as you thought they would. The desire for stuff slowly gets quieter. The desire for security and freedom gets louder. And that swap, that fundamental trade in what you want, is one of the most valuable transformations money can produce in a person. Month 5 is also where you start doing the math on what happens next. You think about what 6 months of savings could do. You think about what a year at this pace looks like. You think about what real financial freedom might actually feel like if you kept this going. And the 6-month mark is also where you face a very real choice. You could go back, your 6 months are up. You could loosen the budget and start spending like you used to. Some people do. And within a few months, they are right back where they started. More income than savings, low cushion, background financial anxiety humming again quietly beneath everything. But most people who make it to month 6 do not want to go back because they remember what month 1 felt like. They remember the stress. They remember the confusion about where the money went. They remember not feeling in control, and they do not want that back. So they adjust. Maybe they allow themselves a little more breathing room, but they keep the core habit. Save first, spend what is left, not the other way around. Living on half your salary for 6 months does not just save you money. It shows you who you are with money. It forces you to see the spending you had been avoiding looking at. It teaches you that no is not the end of joy. Sometimes it is the beginning of it. It gives you a cushion that changes how your nervous system feels every single day. And it shifts your identity from someone money happens to someone who decides what money does.